Now, Peter, during what is Grounds Week 2023, the National Grounds Management Association are keen to highlight the country's dedicated club sports personnel. In this present Ground Week, the opportunity is there to recognise the efforts of so many, and quite right too.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what level you play, there's someone somewhere marking a pitch at least, or cutting the grass, and it doesn't just happen by chance. So yeah, it's probably a good thing that we get a little bit of recognition.
Very much to an opportunity to let supporters and others know what goes on, because it's a vast deal, of course, and importantly enables individuals to be thanked, because again, the efforts of so many need to be appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, here we've got a team probably of volunteers, probably about at least 6 strong of regular volunteers, and it's the same for lots and lots of clubs. I mean, the work is never ending. I mean, you look on the pitch, there's a lot of work that you don't think about. People think it's just cutting the grass. Well, from October onwards, you aren't really cutting the grass, but there's a lot to be done, and there's a lot of important work to be done to be keeping the games on. So, yeah.
And of course, it's in all weathers. You have to do the seeding in 2 fields, not just the many field, the nursery as well.
Yeah.
The fertilising, the cutting, the verti draining, the chain harrowing, line marking, hedges cut, rubbish picked up, seats cleaned, walkways made safe, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean, it's all vital to keep the club running. It's got to be done, and thankfully we've got volunteers, or there's just no chance that we'll be able to get through all the work in our allotted time. So
then we had all the changing rooms and the clubhouse as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if I could just mention some names of some guys that helped down here, I just want to make sure they know that they're very much appreciated. But obviously, got my right hand man, which is Jan, who does a lot on the pitch, but also Murray Westron, who's obviously involved with the coaching here and the amateur team, but he does loads for the pitch and helps out loads on the ground. Phil Jackson, who used to manage at Minack Theatre, he does a lot here. He does at least a day a week, every week. Phil Elderkin Taylor, who we know as Phil the Barrister, he's in for a day every week. He's currently at the moment scrubbing the roof off and the toilet block and pressure washing and doing all those unglamorous jobs, and he just gets stuck in. Rob Trezise, who's here every match day, but also does a lot with the changing rooms. Jerry, who only knows Jerry, but Jerry helps out Rob. Paul Kempson, who people know as the man with the dog, who is here on Sponsors Day, and as a little consultant is Tom Cutter, who's one of the head gardeners at Glendurgan. So yeah, there's a lot of people go into putting the pitch together.
We're very lucky, and those that have been over the years. It's been fantastic. I know here at the Pirates, going back to Cage, we've had numerous people involved. Interesting that the people that you mentioned, an ex-barrister, military personnel, a Minack manager, Rob, of course, a retired hairdresser, and being in Cornwall, always a minor, and Jerry,
of course, Jerry,
minor.
There's got to be a minor in there somewhere in Cornwall.
An interesting selection, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely, and it just makes for an interesting crib room. And there's plenty on this pitch. There's a lot of time that you can't stand on the pitch, let alone drive a tractor on it. So there is time for coffee and whatever, and that's when we do all the stuff in the sheds or in the changing rooms or wherever. So it does make for interesting debate. It's cool. Yeah.
Now, as a former Red Ruth player and involved with the Pirates, played for the Pirates in Cornwall, etc., you very much appreciate how important it is that people do give something back, and you've been pleased to do that yourself. And it's great that former players do react, and they do their bit, contribute in a variety of ways. It certainly just doesn't happen.
No, well, it's surprising really. There aren't more former players doing it. Really, I mean, a lot of it is purely a time thing. I'm very lucky here that it's a professional role, and I'm paid for the work I do. But it's probably a time thing, because it normally ends up being retired, this, that, the other teachers and people like that. But it would be nice to see more players get into it. I mean, obviously players know the importance of the pitch being right and what have you. I think it isn't obvious. It does lead into that kind of work very well. Physical work. It suits a lot of the guys that would be playing.
Yeah, we reiterated it doesn't just happen, of course, and from what you've been telling us now, that's clearly the case. And It's also worth remembering that here at the Pirates and many clubs around the country, and not just rugby, other sports clubs, but with reference to us, we've got over 300 players that we've got to accommodate for on rugby requirements, and that's quite a commitment.
Yeah, it is, and definitely worth mentioning here. I mean, a lot of people think, when the Pirates are away for 3 weeks, the Cornish Pirates, that the pitch has a rest for 3 weeks, but unfortunately there is a whole club, a very important club underneath the Cornish Pirates that play at this pitch, and we need those grassroots players coming through, and we need that pitch space to be made available for them. And it is a constant juggle. It's a constant juggle. It is very hard to get the balance right, but I'd like to think we're doing it as well as we ever have here. So yeah, but there is that whole other club underneath the Pirates that's very important too. So yeah, it's about striking a balance.
It's always important to state that the volunteers are very much cherished. Several of the names we mentioned already, they devoted much of their lives to the course, and importantly, the other factor is they save the club literally have done over the years thousands of pounds.
Oh, tens and thousands of pounds a year. I mean, if you were to pay some of the guys that clean the changing rooms, the guys that do the bits around the ground, and the gate staff, if you were to pay those guys even minimum wage, you'd be looking at probably a £60,000 wage bill at least for the work that they do, if you were to ad hoc bring in minimum wage workers. So it's not just a nice idea, it is essential, and it's good business to look after them, and I'd like to think we do that. We try and lay on as much as we can for them and make sure they feel appreciated, because they genuinely are.
So I think to conclude, Peter, in short, we can say it's fair to say they're all rugby heroes.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah.
Thank you, Peter.
Righto. Cheers.